This portion of Lifestyles is sponsored by Gary Price, elder law attorney.
And today Gary is back with us to talk about not just Medicaid planning, but sort of when to begin and how early is too early, or can you make it too early?
You can't make it too early. You can't make it too early. Now, you may not, when we talk about planning, it's different than planning is one thing, executing the plan is something else, right?
I've noticed that in my life in general, yes.
So, now, we can execute the plan. Some people they hear about trusts,
right.
Medicaid compliant trusts. Of course, it's never too early to discuss a trust. Now, truthfully, the majority of my clients, a trust doesn't fit. But let's have that discussion, because the trust can be very beneficial. And again, it's never too soon to have that discussion.
Well, what are your options? I mean, we're talking about planning, what goes into the planning, but what are our options?
Well, there aren't that many, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
it just is what it is, as they say.
Yeah. If you've got a lot of time, the idea of applying for Medicaid is not in your immediate future, then the trust may be a good option. On the other hand, if it appears, unfortunately, that Medicaid might be in your immediate future, I don't know what that means. If it means 30 days from now, next week, a year from now, a trust is not a good option because of the 5-year look back that's always relevant to the planning discussion. So then, in that case, then we are talking about planning, maybe not executing the plan, because maybe it is a year off, but at least get the knowledge of knowing what you're going to have to do and when you're going to have to start doing that.
I know you've said this in the past, and I think it does bear repeating. Okay, you're a couple, and only one of you is going to be in need of this nursing care or Medicaid. How does that all work out?
Well, there's two parts to that. How does it work out during the application process, and then how does it work out once the application has been approved? During the application process, the Medicaid office is very interested in both spouses' resources. Whether it's in their name alone, sometimes the spouse that's not applying thinks, oh, my assets are in my name, they're free, they're safe. Yeah, that's not the case. So we can protect them, but that's not the case. The Medicaid office is very interested and wants to know resources for both spouses, and then what's jointly owned as well. Once the applicant has been approved, though, Medicaid's only interested in the resources of the spouse who is applying for Medicaid, no longer interested in the resources of the spouse that's not applying.
That's so interesting and kind of confusing.
And gives us a good way of planning so that we can shelter assets for the spouse that is not applying for Medicaid. Not getting into it now, but there's some things we can do to take advantage of that.
Well, and that's why I make an appointment with you. I mean, to talk about all those possibilities. What happens when, let's say, you are using Medicaid and you no longer need it? You get well, you go home, how does that impact?
You notify, let me say this, that seldom happens.
Oh,
you
really?
no longer need it, you get to go home, but you still need assistance. And there's in-home assistance, so that's what happens mostly. But to answer your question, yeah, I've notified Medicaid before and said they wish to terminate.
Okay.
And it's as easy as that.
It's just so much to think about. Hold up your book there, Gary, and let everyone know how they can get a copy of it.
You call my office, 812-475-8444. We send you a free copy.
Make an appointment to have that discussion, too. It's really free and enlightening. So thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Friday, 13th.
13th, yeah.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.